Hi everyone, this is Russ from Sparx Hockey. Welcome to another episode of The Edge. This week we're going to mix things up a bit and show you a video of an interview that we just had recently with Ted Richards, head equipment manager of the Florida Panthers. We were recently at the SFEM show in Phoenix, Arizona, and that's the Society for Professional Equipment Managers for all of the NHL, the AHL, college teams, and the like. And we had some time to sit down with Ted, talk to him about his experiences taking care of some of the best hockey players in the world, winning the Stanley Cup, working in the minors, some really funny stories. We hope you enjoy this episode, and we'll talk to you soon. So we're here, it's Phoenix, Arizona. This is the Society of Professional Equipment Managers. We're with Ted Richards from the Florida Panthers. Ton of time in the NHL, just sitting down to chat, learn a little bit more about you, about how you got into the business. And so with that, can you just start and tell us, like, how do you become a professional equipment manager for an NHL team?
Yes, it's a very tough question to answer because, it's not one of those jobs that you open up the newspaper and see a job open position. I always say I got very, very lucky, very fortunate. You always try to put your best foot forward, but it's all luck. That's what it comes down to. Reputation and a lot of luck. The way my story got started, I would say, is very uncharacteristic of probably, no story is characteristic of the hockey world. There's only 31 positions, so it's hard to get one. But the way it started back in 1999, where my hometown, Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, Pennsylvania, was awarded a minor league hockey team. So part of the process of them getting a team, they had to hire a full-time bus driver. So my father drove bus, and he actually got the job as a full-time bus driver for the team. So that relationship, my dad was a full-time employee, and I was in high school at the time.
What team was that?
The Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. The Pittsburgh Penguins.
Okay, it was their affiliate.
Got awarded the team. So it was great for the city. Wilkes-Barre is a smaller city, but the city just embraced the team. It was fantastic. They were like rock stars, the hockey players. That could be a whole different interview. We talk about Wilkes-Barre and what that's done for hockey in the city and how it just transformed that city around, that team. So it's an amazing story. But going back, my dad was a bus driver. I was in high school at the time. It was a very common job for high school kids to actually work in the parking lot, parking cars. Okay. So for me, I would work. I'd park cars before the games, go in and actually watch the game, go back out in the parking lot, and for the exit of the cars. Sure. And then through my relationship and connections my dad made with the equipment manager, I was allowed to just post game go down and fold towels and help out, volunteer basis, and that's all it was. And the way it was set up is the laundry room was actually outside the locker room. So in the beginning I wasn't even in the locker room, I was outside away behind the door folding towels. But that relationship and experience and dedication to really wanting to do something with this. It was from folding towels to visiting hockey teams 3 a.m, still on a volunteer basis. And then from there, like I said, I was in high school. I went away to college. I got a football scholarship. Played football for a little bit there. Just couldn't stop getting injured. Realized that it was time. I gave it up. And then I was very, very fortunate. Perfect timing, luck once again, that I was able to leave school. Not recommended. It was a very tough decision.
So you just said, I'm done.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not recommended at all. Please don't do that. I walked away from a scholarship. I accepted the assistant equipment manager position with the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. Wow. So very fortunate, very lucky. The team president, Jeff Barrett in Wilkes-Barre, the equipment manager, Mark Dumas, they took tremendous care of me. I was a 19, 20-year-old kid, didn't really know what's going on. They took me under their wing and formed me and molded me, made me a man. I owe them so much credit. So
how do you go from like that to sharpening so you're in the minors now? What does it take in years of experience and gaining the trust of at the NHL level to be sharpening the skates? How much time and effort goes into that process?
I was very fortunate once again. It was a seasonal position. Honest God, it was $300 a week, 2 weeks before the season, 2 weeks after the season. Yeah. So as you get older, met my wife young, realized, we're going to have a life together. We need insurance. So I went to our team president and said, it's seasonal, no insurance. How do I be able to make this a contracted position? Yeah. And he said, we own a few pro shops. In the off season, why don't you work 40 hours a week in the pro shops? And I was able, over the course of, I think it was 4 years, I mean, working those hours in the pro shops, and that's where I was able to learn and fine-tune sharpening. And I think at the retail level, it teaches you so well because you deal with all sorts of skates. Yeah, at the pro level, you do them, you give them back to the player, they give them back to you the next day, they're perfect. It's hard to teach yourself and learn at the pro level. But at the retail, they're nicked up. They might get them sharpened once a year.
Sure.
You really deal with every, flaw of a skate.
So that's a great. Are the pro skates, when they're coming back to you, I mean, they're bigger, they're stronger, they're more aggressive out there. Are they still not as badly messed up as retail level skates?
100%. There are nicks. Nicks are terrible during games, and we're finding players are bigger, faster, stronger, more physical. Everyone's in front of the net.
Sure.
So there are consistent nicks, but it's per player. Guys that are nitty and gritty. The Patrick Hornquests. He was a nightmare for me to sharpen in Pittsburgh. I know after every game I had to go, check his edges. It was like a steak knife, rigid.
No kidding.
Rigid edge every game.
Coming off of skates or posts or what?
Everything. I think just the goal post. Even the new sticks, one-piece sticks, they create nicks in the skates.
Yeah.
So there's so many elements and debris on the ice that create that.
Yeah. But definitely, you thought on average, retail skates way worse.
Yeah. And actually, I helped out recently, and I haven't done retail skates in a few years. Yeah. But recently, I helped out. We had a national tournament at our practice rink, and we kind of opened it up to where Panthers equipment managers could sharpen, and it was kind of an eye opener again. Like, wow, I don't miss this as much, because you're getting a lot of garbage steel, just not maintained. There's not proper maintenance, like I said. With when they're done, they wipe them down. They just throw them in a bag, let them sit there. The smell. There's a lot of elements that factor into the finishing.
Of all the players you've dealt with, can you share? We have a lot of fans of the skate sharpening world. Like, who's had the most peculiar skate sharpening setup that's really interesting?
Yeah, I've been very fortunate. I've worked with some huge name players, with the Sidney Crosbys and Evgeny Malkins, and last year Jaromir Jagr. He definitely is tops of the list. Jagr,
number one,
fantastic guy. I do want to say that. When I came to Florida, I was intimidated. I didn't know much about Jagr. I've heard stories. There's some stories out there of different players of what they require, and I was intimidated. But he came on. He was very professional. He said, whatever I need, we're going to talk about. I don't yell. I don't get upset. I've done this for so long. I know what I want. So he came in. I just had an open mind. But with Jagr, he does things very untraditional. So for us, we're trained a certain way. Checking your edges, a hollow, what all that means to us. It makes sense in our head. He did everything backwards. His profiling numbers were backwards. He was off center. He was high inside edges. So
how off center, tipping forward, tipping back?
Oh, he was tipping forward.
Okay.
Tipping forward. So we tipped forward and we put huge lifts in his heel. So it was almost like he was a downhill skier per se.
No kidding.
Of what he wanted in his skates to do. And then the consistency was hard for him because what you thought he liked last game, he's going to like something next game. And he was another player that it would be nothing for him to come 10 minutes before warm-ups of a game and ask me about different hollows. He was a flat-bottom V hollow. And, there's a lot of different flat-bottom Vs. And he would change just off a conversation. And I'd sharpen him, and he'd go out there and warm-ups and play the game. And maybe not say anything, or maybe, 5 minutes in say, no, this isn't working. We got to redo him. So it was just something with him. He knew what his body reacted. He would often come. I've never had a player say that to me, but he would come in and say, "You know what? This muscle in my leg sore, so something's not right with my skate." So as I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical trainer. I'm like,
really?
Okay, I don't know how to treat that, but let's just go back to the basics and what worked last time and you felt good. So we kind of just restart the process and go with that. But a lot of it's communication and just being willing to listen and not tell the player this is what you need.
Sure.
So they go a long way with that.
Yeah. What's like the full range? Like how the most kind of crazy addicted to sharpening, like to where the player wants it done at the highest frequency, to players that are just surprisingly they don't like their skate sharpened. Like, what does that spectrum look like, and who are those, if you don't mind? Who are those players?
I would say years ago we'd have a player that you do once a month. Traditionally, you had that one guy who hated their skates done, which we love them as trainers. You do them once a month. It's not so much that anymore. Like a Sean Thornton we had last year in Florida. He always say, just check them, but don't do them if you don't have to do them. But still, with the rigors of the game and the elements of the game, probably every 3 games he's getting them done at a very shallow hollow. But you're not going
Like how shallow?
1 1/8.
1
So, and I would say a lot of the Europeans that are coming out. I mean, we're switching topics here, but hollows. A lot of the Europeans now are coming to that 1 inch, 1 1/4, 1 1/8.
Anybody above a 1 1/4?
You know, Patrick Hornquist was there. UC Jokinen was there.
Yeah.
So a lot of guys are coming down. When I started, it was 1/2 inch. If a guy brought a skate in, he didn't really know 1/2 inch.
Yep.
And
that's
now it's
less common.
Oh no, nobody's even getting done 1/2 inch anymore.
No, nobody.
I mean, it's 5/8, but now 3/4 is the new 1/2 inch.
3/4 is the new 1/2 inch.
Yeah.
And do you see players over their career going flatter and flatter and flatter? Do they keep trying to go flatter?
We try through education, because when a deeper hollow, that's more your legs are working, more, you know.
Sure.
We try to tell you, let's try a little bit hollow. Like, you want to stand on top of the ice. You don't want to dig in. And, you know, now with concerts and buildings being busier and busier, it could go, you know, from the arena floor being covered to ice to basketball. So ice is generally softer.
Are you checking temperature?
We get sheets. I mean, I don't have a gun. We do have people in place. The NHL have people in place that they give you humidity reports, ice temperature reports.
And is that affecting your sharpening?
A little bit. I don't want to say drastic. Some guys may say they switch per game, per ice condition.
Yeah.
5/8 guy or 3/4 guy is traditionally still a 3/4 guy. You're not. It's not per game switch.
Yeah. And it's not halfway through the game. Ice is getting softer. They're
no,
changing.
my only experience, we did an outdoor game in Hershey, Pennsylvania, a couple years ago, and it went from the morning skate at a certain time to guys commenting on the ice to warm ups to way different. You know, where the ice throughout the course of an outdoor game. Yeah. That was probably the most in-game hollow switches I had to deal with.
Now, do you have players that are sharpening or changing out their steel in between periods?
Yeah, and that's a God bless. Bauer created that edge, the quick release, and I know CCM is now launching their own version of it this upcoming year. But it was something that it was a pain. You know, a player, like, we always try to stone it first because we never want them to take them off the ice. So we're stoning them, we're jeopardizing, you know, we hope it's good. But now, we don't even almost stone. We go down there, you know, there's no questions asked. Something doesn't feel right, we just flick it right out. Yeah. It takes me 4 or 5 seconds.
Guy stays on the bench, just kind of moves his foot back?
He just steps up, he puts his knee on the bench, and I have my little awl, and the trigger and the awl, pop it right out, pop the new one in. And then we, every sharpening, you rotate steel, so they're even. Okay. You can do 2, 3, 4 sets.
And do you have guys that are going every period, swapping them out just as on thing, or no?
No, I would say as needed.
Okay.
I won't name the team, but I heard one team, they will switch every player's steel going into the third period, which makes great sense. Like, you're going into the most important period with fresh steel.
Every player.
Yes. To me, that's a lot of work. You know, great for him.
Yeah.
You know, good for him doing it, and maybe we'll catch on. But he's giving, you know, in his mind, their players the best effort. You know, that's the most important period, and they have fresh steel.
How many sets of steel do you have per player on the bench?
We'll do, so it's in their skates, and then we have a second set in the bag right on the side. It's pretty common now. You're seeing those steel bags on the bench.
Yep.
So we keep 2 sets consistent, and then I also have 2 brand new sets profiled on the road, or you know, always prepped with us.
Are you bringing backup skates for everybody too on the road?
Very common. Yep.
Yeah.
And what we do with that is we just have a little bag that goes in their gear bag.
Yeah.
So it's numbered. It has their last set of backup or their last set of skates in there.
Oh, okay.
If anything happens within, as soon as they could unlace their skate, we have that other one ready for the lace back up. So there's literally no time wasted. And that's such a huge thing now with coaches and GMs. And you know, we had a conversation a little bit earlier where there was a player who refused to do it. The number 1 PK guy had a bad edge, had to come off. They scored in the playoff game. It was a huge thing. And, you know, without naming teams, but it was a huge. And the GM ran right down. Why was he off the ice? And you had to say, you know, we had to sharpen his skate. I mean, the stuff like that happens. It could break. Stuff happens, but
it's like the pit crew. I mean, you are.
Yeah. I mean, imagine how that situation could have been prevented.
Yeah. So what's your craziest hockey as an equipment manager? What's been your craziest hockey story?
You know, this is going into my 16th year, so 15 years of, you know, I spent 11 years in the minor leagues, and minor leagues is a whole different animal of bus trips, road trips, just how 20-year-old kids are great people, but they're learning to become men together and how they have good times together.
Yeah.
So many stories. But one I always tell, it's kind of funny. We were in the minor leagues, and we had flown to Manitoba, Winnipeg.
This is coming out of Wilkes-Barre?
I want to say, so we were coming out of Wilkes-Barre, but I think we flew from Toronto, because a lot of times we would bus from Wilkes-Barre to Toronto, because it was easier on the minor leagues to clear customs on a bus compared to doing it in the. So as you can imagine, we sit on the bus for 6 hours, and then we fly. So it's not the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're in Toronto, I think it was, and the belt loader, we're on the plane sitting, and you look out the little window, and the belt loader was loading the bags of equipment.
Yep.
And we see a few bags were there on the ground still. And they said it was full, they were going to make the next flight, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And you're sitting on the plane, so there's nothing you could do. And then we go to Manitoba, we land, and we're trying to track these bags. We get in the day before, they're virtually lost in the airlines. They don't know where these are gear bags, players' equipment that need to play the game the next day.
And is this like a typical airline with like other passengers as well, or is it just you guys?
No, it's so at the minor league you fly commercially, which random people.
Yeah.
So
somebody else got their stuff, but this team
no
didn't.
priority at all. I was there 4 hours before, we're supposed to be, and our bag still sat on the ground. So the whole day we're tracking this bag, and like, what are we going to do? This is getting pretty scary. And at the time, the head coach was not a very friendly person, and he just came to us, he said, this player will play the game, I don't care. So now you're sweating, you're getting nervous, like what are we going to do? So we were able to track it, whatever the postage carrier was going to deliver it to the rink.
Yeah.
I think the game was at 7 o'clock, warm-up starts at 6:20. We probably got it about 5:30 p.m. So we didn't have much time.
Yep.
We get the bag, we unzip it, and like I mentioned, we were in Winnipeg, it sat on the ground, and when we unzipped it, it was basically a solid block of ice, because it was frozen solid. And we had played the day before, so the gear was wet, never properly dried, zipped into a bag, solid piece of ice. So as you can imagine, we had hair dryers, whatever we could do to get this gear broken away from the ice, and we were handing it to the player, and he was putting it on to go out and play warm-ups. So that's kind of funny now, not funny then, but it's what we experience and what you got to deal with and get through. And like I said, you can look back and laugh, but it's just those are experiences that build you and you learn from.
Another question: if you weren't in the position you're in right now, like not in hockey, not in equipment management, what would you be doing in life?
You know what? I went to school for criminal justice. I went to be a detective.
Okay.
I love detective shows. I always think I wish I could get into it at some point in my life.
Yeah.
I just really enjoyed that. My hometown, we had a lot of prisons.
Okay.
So I think I was kind of set. I would probably be a prison guard. It's something that interests me.
Kidding.
In our hometown, that's a good paying job.
Yeah.
So that was kind of always my thing: prison guard, police officer, into a detective. So
that's awesome.
So
now you're chasing around
yeah.
multi-million-dollar athletes.
Yes. So everything I learned in college completely useless now. So
awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. This was great just to sit down and chat, and hopefully we'll see you around some more during the conference. And can't wait to see you guys next season too.
I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to your new machine. I can't wait to get it in the locker room there.
Awesome.
We
we forgot to mention
we didn't even
that.
talk about Sparx. How about that?
So this is one of our customers.
Yeah, so I've been loyal to Sparx since the beginning. Russ stood up last year at our trainers meetings here, and he spoke to us. And to be honest, as a hockey dad, retail based, and you touched on so many topics that drive me crazy of the retail market. And like you hit a home run. Everything you said was a problem that I've had at some course of my life of getting my kids' skate sharpened, of other people's skates. And it really interests me, like this guy's onto something. I didn't know you at all. I didn't know the machine. And I remember I came over to the booth and everything just started clicking. And every problem solving thing or everything I could come up with, you've already figured it out, which was amazing.
And now we're trying to figure it out for the NHL. Give you guys new equipment, and hopefully that helps you in your job, makes you more efficient.
And that's, obviously everyone says how busy we are. So any tool that can eliminate me standing in front of something, it aids me in my day-to-day frame. It's unbelievable.
Excellent.
And the consistency, it speaks for itself.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Ted.
Thank you very much. I enjoy it.
Cheers.